Hey friends, welcome back to the Stop Bending Over podcast, Align Your Life for Radical Success. I'm your host, Rita Mendez. Today's episode is really fun. It's a little bit of science, a little bit spiritual, and a whole lot of truth. As you know, I do love to bring you some truth bombs. So today what we're talking about is how your thoughts might be the very thing holding you back. And let's just get real. It is the thing holding you back from abundance, from peace, from what you say you want, from the momentum, and truly from becoming who you actually are underneath all the programming. My Wealth and Wisdom group started about 6 weeks ago. And what I'm realizing more and more every time I do a group is that we have a lot of programming, ancestral programming, which is generational, from thoughts, beliefs, patterns, values, and behaviors and experiences from our generational line in our family. We have cultural ones. We have collective consciousness of the planet. We have collective consciousness of women, of men. Here's the thing is our limitations are driven by our thoughts. And when let's say we're in a funk, we're in kind of a low place or in a repetitive pattern of sort of doing the same thing every day, not really kind of changing it up. What happens, the more habitual, not saying habits are bad, meaning like if you're in a funk, those thoughts actually work to keep you there because it's very much a lower state of energy and a protection pattern. And so we're going to talk about that today. So this episode, I think it's going to be great if, you're working on your mindset and you feel a little bit stuck, if you kind of intellectually know what to do, but something just keeps holding you back. You just end up not really stepping forward. And, if you've ever said, I don't know what's wrong with me. And spoiler alert, you don't need to be fixed and there's nothing fucking wrong with you. You are perfectly abundant, creative, prosperous, beautiful, unconditional, loving, just as you are. Your thoughts, though, that's a whole nother story. They can get real sideways, and truthfully, they've been running the show. So, and let me put a little caveat here is our thoughts can be really great as well. And so why don't we double down on the great ones? Why don't we double down on what we would call fantasy or possibility and start to release and let go of our attachment to negative Nancy dialogue, self-shaming, shame spirals, telling ourselves what we don't deserve, what we're not good enough, people are judging me. Why don't we release some of that and instead replace it with what we know to be true? Because underneath all that, everyone knows the truth. So when I ask someone what they want or what the block is, and they say, well, I don't know. And then the next question I asked them, within seconds, I said, well, if you did know, what would the answer be? They always come up with the answer. Why is that? Because the first response is stay away. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over. But underneath the thoughts of resistance, we know exactly what we want. We know who we want to be with. We know the feelings that we want to be with people, to be with our prosperity, to be with our money, to be with our families, to be in our life. We know what we want. We're just afraid to step in because we're afraid we might not get it. So what happens is we hold ourselves back and play really small, and then we externally blame, complain, and justify when we don't get what we want. And I'm going to tell you right now, as long as you're blaming, complaining, and justifying, you won't have the life that you dream about of connection and fulfillment because it doesn't come with that. So obviously we're human and we're going to blame, we're going to complain some. And I just want you to take a look at every time you're blaming, every single time, no matter what it is, I want you to do a little bit of self-introspection and ask yourself this question: what's my DNA in this? What's my DNA in this? Because if I'm having the thought of blame, that means my energy is in the field of whatever the upset is. So I have DNA in it, even if it's just a thought. Yep, you heard me wrong, right? Not wrong. You heard me right. Even if it's just a thought from you, that's DNA. That's energy that you've put into the field for that thought. So, or that situation, whatever it is the blame is. So this is about you cleaning up and clearing up thoughts inside of yourself to start really enjoying your life the way that you see it and the way that you want it. So I've said it before, your brain does not care about your goals. It is wired for survival and not success. So I love this one quote. Just because you have the thought doesn't make it true. Think of your brain as like your overprotective friend. Remember, did you ever have a girlfriend or a guy friend that just always had your back? Think of your brain like that. Doesn't care about success, just safety. And, it doesn't care if you hit your goals either. That's a you job. So it cares if you survive the day, if you survive, if you're eating with minimal risk. So that's where neuroplasticity comes in. Your brain, which all that means is that our brain, it can change, it can adapt, it can grow and expand. The issue is that whatever we focus on is what it takes in as information, and then it creates a neural pathway. I don't know if people realize this, but AI, they're called neural networks because we're training it to think like we do. That's a neural network. That's why neuroscience is the science of the brain and how the synapses and the axons and the neuroplasticity of our brains, how everything wires and fires together. And one of the people that I love to hear talk about this subject is Dr. Deepak Chopra and Dr. Joe Dispenza, because they get it that the more we focus on something, that neural pathway, the way that the neurotransmitters are wiring and firing together, gets stronger and stronger. So the more you think something, even if it's trash, the more your brain goes, oh, cool, let's keep wiring that in. I'm fat, or I'm slow, or I procrastinate. I'm behind. That's one I hear all the time. I'm behind. I'm always late. So whatever you're doing, you're programming your brain, your mind and your brain. Your mind is giving your brain a program. So this is like the floppy disk of all floppy disks. So if any of you remember floppy disks, they actually were floppy in the 80s, and in the early 90s, they were like these big, I don't know, they were probably like 4x5. They were kind of like square, and they were floppy. And then they came out with a 3.5-inch floppy disk, but it was hard, but they were still called floppy disks. And those were programs. So you popped it into the computer, the hard drive of the computer, and it ran the program. The computer ran the program. Well, now we have software. We don't need those disks anymore because the program is pre-written in all the software. That's how good we've got since 80s and 90s, when all of this really was, the technology was coming to the consumer. That's why AI is called neural networks, is because they're fashioning it after our brains. How insane is that? And so that's repetition over and over and over. So then you pair that with your RAS, your reticular activating system. That's your brain's filter of what's important to you. Mine and yours will never be the same. Yours and someone else will not be the same, because everyone has their own different thought patterns. So now you're not even seeing opportunities if you're running an old program. Your old floppy disk that got inserted when you were a kid is running. You've inserted some along the way. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to be successful. I want to run a business. Well, your hard drive, your brain, it is a supercomputer, and it's still running the old programs. So when you say, I want to do this, or I'm going to make $1 million, I'm going to fill in the blank, it thinks it's a virus. Your brain thinks new stuff like that is a virus. If you're saying, I'm going to, throw out all these old beliefs, that is not going to happen on the drop of a dime. It's not going to happen, because your brain is holding onto that, because that's part of its programming. And as anyone that knows about a computer, just you using one, you just can't reprogram the whole computer like that, like the snap. It's not going to happen. So you work to start taking out the viruses, which is the old programming, not the new programming, of loving yourself, of being kind to others, of calling in what you want, of manifesting from the pure potentiality of who you are. That's what your reticular activating system can double down on, just as much as it can double down on things that are super negative and that do not bring you what you want. So it looks for proof of whatever story it's getting fed. This is why mindset work, I'll call it mindset. That's really, to me, that's the very superficial layer, is not optional. It's like neural hygiene. It's like brushing your teeth. So in the past, I used to say I'm like an orthodontist of the brain. I help you guys get straightened out, at least your thoughts. So that's the sort of the neuroscience behind how our thoughts run in patterns, is because once we believe something, which is just a thought we've thought over and over and over, once we believe it, then it has to show up in our physical world reality. That's how powerful you are. You're so powerful that your thoughts actually become things over and over and over. And it can be an experience. It can be an actual physical 3D world item like a vehicle or a house or a bicycle, whatever it is. I've seen it over and over, and everyone that's listening to this has experienced yourself as a manifester. Here's what I know is people, humans, are amazing manifestors. It's just the more you talk yourself out of it, the less and less that you see evidence of that. And what you don't see, or what I call pretending not to know, is we pretend not to know that we're tanking our own fucking lives with our thoughts. So let's go to thoughts as energy. Let's zoom out a little bit. Your thoughts aren't just your private inner monologue. They are energetic waves that go out into your field, out into the field of energy. We're all energy. This desk is energy. The cat over there is energy. The water bottle, everything, the computer, everything is vibrating at a certain frequency. And so when you repeat a certain frequency enough, it becomes, let's call it your baseline. So again, I'll go back to the radio station, old school radio station. If you had one in your house, or if you have one in your car, I don't even know how to work mine in my car, honestly. I don't know how to get the radio on. So, but what you do is you tune it to a certain frequency. So everything that is broadcasting at that frequency, let's say it's FM 1500, you can hear. So if you're broadcasting at your FM 1500, whatever that is, prosperity, love, ease, grace, the business or the job, the career, all of it that you really crave, and not in a way of wanting. So you're so wanting. So I mean that like this. When I'm wanting, that means I don't have something, and there's not just a space inside of me that doesn't have it, but there's a mindset of that I need it or I want it. Not that striving, I need it, I don't have it. Not that kind of wanting. That's not what I'm talking about. That actually keeps you from what you want, because it says you're saying without saying it, and you probably are saying it at some level, I don't have it. And the subconscious does not process negatives. It takes everything fucking literally, everything. It's personally offended, takes everything literally. So it doesn't process negatives. So instead of, I can't be late, I can't be late, I can't be late, it literally hears be late, be late, be late. It just takes the literal part of what you're saying to yourself and puts it in the programming and makes sure the programming runs so that your experience in the day will probably have some periods where you're late to appointments or to calls or whatever it is. Something will happen because your energetic field is tuned to the frequency of late, whatever that is. It's not the FM 1500 that you want. It might be AM 690, which is a completely different frequency. You cannot hear, you cannot manifest, you cannot be at the 1500 frequency because you're tuned somewhere else. So that's why I say audio and video need to match. What I say and what I do needs to match. So when I follow up with what I say I'm going to do, I'm creating a neural pathway of trusting in my subconscious, myself, for following through. Here's the thing about mindset. It encompasses all the parts of you. Your mind, the body temple, the emotions, your behaviors, where you're vibrating overall as an energetic being. So your brain is part of that nervous system. You are a whole system. You're not just bits and pieces. So when you think of yourself as a whole system, how do you consider that you're treating the whole system? Are you feeding it well? Are you treating your mind well? Are you treating yourself well? Are you treating others well? Because that's a reflection of how you're treating yourself. And so, shocker, I trigger a lot of fucking people, and half of them are my clients. And, I get it, because what I do is I mirror back to them and reflect back to them what they're unconsciously saying. They don't know it. And so that's my job. And when you hire me as your coach and you're listening to this podcast, so, you can turn this off anytime you want. It's free. So when you keep listening to it and you actually take in, don't believe everything I say. I'm human. I can fuck up. Obviously we all can. We can all say things that maybe don't make sense or maybe aren't accurate. I don't know. Check it out. Check out everything I fucking say. Check out everything everyone says. How's that? Do your homework. Research for you of what works for you to improve your life. So I'm going to go back to me triggering this client by saying that everyone in her life was a mirror for her. And that really, really upset her because some of the people she feels are not being very kind to her. And it took a minute and we had some really beautiful conversations out of it with some upsets on her. She was very upset. And, my intention is never to harm. It's always to bring awareness, a loving place where God can land. And, for whatever reason, this is what he gave me to speak with. And sometimes I say fuck and sometimes I say swear words. And many times when I first started doing this work, I told God, I'm like, you picked the wrong person to be doing any kind of work like this. I swear, I'm super direct. And he said, nope, that's my message that I got. Nope, no mistakes here. So I just go with it and I go with authentically what comes through. And, I do my work. I do all this work that I talk about. I've done it. I do it on the daily. And I work my process all the time to be as clear as I can for everyone that comes into my world. Am I perfect? Fuck no, I'm not. And the thing is that when we show up like this, when we're authentic like this, when we show up and say like, this is who I am, we allow people to choose whether they want to be in our world or not. How great is that? Please don't choose to be in my world if you don't like me. Why? I don't need that shit. Neither do you. I'm not striving to get people to like me that don't want to like me. And what I notice is, and I did for many, many years, because I was so insecure, I thought I needed everyone to like me or I wasn't good enough because that was my core wound. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. So when we have a wound like that, when we have a belief like that about ourselves, it comes out in everything we do. We get needy. Scarcity mode runs rampant in the background, even if you don't think so, because you can have money and still be running in scarcity mode. It can be, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose people. I need everyone to like me. People pleasing, perfectionism, all of that shit goes with that. And so let's roll back to this, everyone is a mirror. Your life, my life, all of our lives are reflections of our internal mental state at any given time. So you think there's not enough, you will experience not enough and lack. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough love, not enough. I'm not pretty enough. Fill in the blank about enough. And I will ask this question is, what's enough? What's enough? When we have this thing about it's never enough. It means I'm not enough. And so I'm looking for the enough to fill me up. And you're never going to find it externally. It just doesn't show up like that. That's not how God created us. So, let's go back to the baseline of your frequency. So your baseline's at AM 590, and then you want things on FM 1500. Of course, they can't show up because you've got a vibe. And the vibe is low-level frequency inside of yourself. So the language is literally, there's a book, and I will put that in the show notes. It's called Your Word is Your Wand. It's from Francis Scoville Shin. What I mean is that your language, your words are your magic wand. You cast a spell over your own reality, good or bad. So I'm exhausted. I can't get ahead. I'm always behind. My favorite one that I hear clients say. They're not casual comments. Just remember, those aren't casual comments. To me, those are embedded commands. It's a code in your programming. And the subconscious is running it like software. So remember that. Think of that floppy disk. When you're running some shitty shame spiral on yourself, think like, man, I am running a fucking program on myself. Is this what I want to experience? I'm too fat. I'm this. I don't make enough. I'm not as good. I'm whatever. Is that what you want? Because the truth is, I haven't met anyone that's what they want. That's what they do, but it's not what they want. You see what I mean? Doing is the video. The wanting and speaking is the audio. So let's get those matched up. Let's get your frequency matched up with some thoughts about you that are actually true, that you are God's goodness, that you are the unconditional loving presence, part of the divine fabric of the universe. That's the truth. That's the ultimate truth. Even shitty people are part of that divine fabric. No baby is born a murderer. No baby is born horrible. That's not how it goes. It gets that way. We get that way from programming, experiences, all the stuff that horrible things can happen to humans because we have free will. That's the way it goes. I want you to know that your energy field isn't a mystery. This is not a mystery to be solved. It's pretty much programming and it's your mindset. That means paying attention to my language, paying attention to what I'm saying and what I'm not saying, but I'm still running as an internal dialogue. So what are you broadcasting? Ask yourself, where am I broadcasting from today? Getting up and asking yourself, what do I want to experience today? And then if something comes up that you deem as negative or that you don't like, or a thought that you're having, ask yourself this question. Here's a great turnaround question. Write this down. What do I want instead? What do I want instead? And my follow-up, which I love, is what would I rather be experiencing right now? What would I rather be experiencing? And then allow your mind and your body temple to go there with the feeling of it so that you can anchor it in as a memory rather than using this programming that's taken you down a dirt fucking road that you don't want to go down, right? Let's not do that. So just notice what you're broadcasting to yourself on the daily. So a belief is just a thought that you've repeated long enough to forget that it started as just a blip, as just a thought or just a theory or just an awareness of something. And then the more repetitive it gets, the more it gets ingrained in the programming and becomes the belief. And then we defend our beliefs as if they're true. Some are and some aren't. So why do we keep doubling down on the ones that aren't? Because the program in the brain thinks it's true. And you are the master of your ship. You are in the driver's seat of your car, of your ship, whatever you want to call it. You can be on a starship. You're the driver. You say how it goes. You're the commander. Commander-in-chief is you. So what is it that needs some retooling, that needs to be taken a look at? What old components aren't really working for you anymore? How are your thoughts creating your results? A lot of beliefs are just recycled thoughts that don't fucking work anymore. They just keep playing on repeat. That's all. It's like a record that's skipping. I wouldn't say people are battling the world. I would say, things that people are upset about. I would say more often than not, we're really most of all battling our own internal playlist, our own internal negative dialogue, more than anything else, more than seeing politics or crazy shit on TV or the news or what's happening in our societies, because the way to handle that is to show up and do something different or speak a different truth or be even more kind or be with a group of people that want to change something. But most of us just blame and complain and fucking bitch about everything and then expect it to change, and it doesn't. And that just lands even more so in the programming of blaming and complaining, where nothing can shift from that space right there. Action gets us out of anxiety. Action gets us out of overwhelm. Action moving in a direction of what we say we want actually create new neural pathways. That's what we're wanting to do. That's how you change your frequency. You start moving towards something and thinking different thoughts. Jim Rohn, 50 or 60, probably 60 years ago, said, you're the average of the 5 people you're around the most. That is one of the most true statements I've ever experienced, not heard, but experienced in my life. You are who you hang around. You're guilty by association. You are uplifted or pulled down to someone else's level. Even if you're just placating them, let's say it's a family member or a close friend, it's time for you to start cleaning up your internal and your external house if you want to have the life that you say you want. So let's get back to the internal playlist. A lot of our internal playlist dialogue was given to us when we were kids. because that is subconscious programming from when we're young. It's model behavior from our caretakers, from the household we grew up in, from our friend group, all those experiences we have. And what happens is that then you take on their beliefs as well, whether you know it or not. It is a collective consciousness around humans in general. The belief, I'm not good enough, it's too late for me, I have to do it all perfectly, that's not good enough, I don't deserve that. All these, let's get real, they're not original. Those are not original thoughts. Most of the thoughts that we have are not original because they come from the collective consciousness. So they're inherited, and your nervous system literally clings on to them like they're gospel because it's a safety mechanism. So the nervous system gets to expand. You get to expand your capacity for what it is that you want to receive. So you want to receive more money. You want to be an energetic magnet for prosperity of love and kindness and generosity and just all the goodness of that life holds, of just that loving presence in the world. You want to be a magnet for that? Start cleaning up your thoughts. Start cleaning up the thoughts that have been keeping you stuck. Know that those are not original. Go back to who you're being, not what you're doing. How are you showing up for yourself, inside of yourself? Negative internal dialogues attached to a lot of upset, sadness, anger, and frustration. Great. Look and see what's the root of that. That's how we start getting to what's actually going on. Now, some people are not ready for that. I've had that experience with many different clients. You have to meet people and yourself where you are. This is what I mean about you get to increase your capacity of your nervous system, of what you can receive. So that's why a lot of times you will hear about lottery winners going bankrupt or losing all the money, because the capacity for them to hold at the frequency to have that kind of wealth didn't grow there. It just jumped in all at once. Now, maybe some people can make that work, but the statistics are that high percentage of them end up bankrupt, I believe, which is really sad. And it makes sense for how we are as humans. So you increase your capacity. It's like rungs on a ladder. You can't jump up 10 unless you have spidey sense, but you can, stretch your leg and probably get up like 2 or 3 rungs and pull yourself up. What does that mean? I'm stretching my capacity to receive more by being able to climb. I'm using that analogy like climbing. I mean, you can stretch larger capacity, but all at once, well, I've done it, and I was bankrupt 2 years later after making $1 million because I didn't have the capacity to even know what to do with a business like that. I just didn't know what to do. I could do it, hustle it out, and it was super fun to do that because I expanded my capacity for what was possible for me. That's what it did for me. But then I couldn't hold for it because I didn't have the capacity to even learn about how to have that run or do that kind of business because my identity, I had outrun my identity. The beliefs were still that I was that girl on welfare and sitting on a curb at 12 years old wondering how I could get out of this situation at 12. So good luck on that, a 12-year-old. So what that means is, though, that part of me just thought, that came back, I don't know what to do. What do I do? How do I do this? And instead of reaching out for help, that shame came up, right? And then I hid and pretended not to know that business was not going to make it financially the way that we were running it. And so that was one of the biggest lessons of my life that changed the trajectory of my entire life into doing this work. It's the first time I went to a seminar because I was just fucking wrecked, man. I was wrecked. Everything was external to me. My success was how I justified my existence. And so, God had a different plan for me. Thank you, God, which I do. I thank him all the time. So going back to expanding that capacity, I didn't know how to expand my capacity yet. I do now. And that's by really working my process, just like you will do, to allow yourself goodness, allow yourself to receive, allow yourself to loosen the reins on what you think is possible for you. And that is a stepwise approach. And the first step is being kind to yourself. So 3 steps always: awareness, step 1. Step 2 is acceptance without judgment. Where am I right now? I don't like where I am. I accept it. I don't like it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to fucking like it. You can be angry as hell, but you can accept it without judging yourself for it. That's what keeps the resistance. That sticks it to you like glue. let go of the judgment about how you got there, what you did. You can look at what you did as a measuring stick of like, oh, I see where I got sideways there. Oh, I see, because right, hindsight's beautiful. I see how I kind of fucked that up, and if I would have went this other path, maybe it would have worked. I don't know for sure, but I could tweak things. See, that's acceptance. That's not saying I'm a fuck up. I chose something that didn't work. Am I a fuck up, or was that something that didn't work? Do you see the difference? One is I assign it to me, I am, which don't do that. Never assign anything to your I am that isn't who you truly are in God's unconditional loving presence, because it tanks you always, in all ways. So that's acceptance without judgment is step 2. And step 3 is then you can move into aligned action. Okay, I don't like where I am. I see where I got sideways, and I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to ask for support. I'm going to do. That's how we move from awareness to action, to change things, to change the programming, to change and move out of the shame spiral, out of the fucking perfectionistic bullshit, people pleasing that we've got. I need to be seen as a certain thing, and move into what I say I want, so that the audio and video can start becoming integrated. That's what it means to be integrated, is to start using your whole body, your mind, everything that you have, all the capacities that you have, to move into aligned action for what's true and purposeful for you. And purposeful to me that's a God job. That is me co-creating with spirit in this world. And, I have lots of intentions. True inspiration comes, and then that purpose shows up, and then whatever comes in usually is, I don't know, successful. I don't even know what to call it. It just happens because it's in alignment for me. And we get there by being as clean and as clear as possible in our thoughts and in our deeds. And so, your language is programming, the words you say out loud, the ones you whisper to yourself, the shit you say to yourself, all of it, all that language is programming you. So I want you to remember some of these no-fly words is always, never, try. It's not as bad as always or never, because always and never limit you. That always happens to me. I never find a parking spot. Right. So when we do that, it's not just the parking spot. It's everything else. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So always, never, can't, should. Stop doing the shoulds. That's just shaming, just a shaming language wrapped up in another word. And, the I am. I want you to be really careful about whatever you put after I am, and make sure it's positive. I am joy filled. Mine is I am God's goodness. That's my one. It covers everything. I am God's goodness. And so, one small shift helps you to start becoming the version of you that is truly meant to. It's just a remembering. That's what I'll say. I'll just stop myself right there and just say, this is a remembering of who you are. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to be anybody. You just get to remember who you actually are, not the programming that got set up when you were young, or experiences we have. And, let's get real. You have survived a lot of shit in your life because you're here, you're human. We all survive a lot of challenges. Not that we're survivors, but what I mean by that, we survive things because that means, can we come out better? Can we see it as a blessing? Can we find the silver lining? Here's the thing is, the silver lining means it's the lesson. It's the challenge, is the opportunity for you to grow and expand. And that's what I love about a challenge. Do I like them when they show up? Of course not. I'm human. I hate that shit. I wanted everything to be easy peasy. And the truth is, that's not the way life goes. It would be boring if everything was fucking easy. It would be boring. I'm not saying choose hard. I'm saying choose easy, and we're still going to have challenges. People are still going to die. We're still going to have people do shit that's not cool to us. All the things are going to happen. And who are you going to be with that? How you deal with the issue is the issue. It's never what you think it is. It's how you're dealing with it. What are you making it mean about you? And what are you making it mean about anybody else? And the way through that is to see it through the eyes of opportunity for your own spiritual growth and expansion on this planet. Who are you becoming? I call my subconscious my co-pilot and my friend. We are in this together, and it is now my biggest supporter, where before it was my biggest shame spiral, beat up bully stick, because that was the programming that was available to me at the time. And now I clean the programming up pretty much every day. Every day. A lot of cleaning goes on around here. And I do a lot of ho'oponopono on the daily, pretty much all day, about just any part of anything that I have DNA in, which is everything, even this podcast, because I'm talking to you. So I'm in your energetic field. And so I clean about that as well, meaning I forgive myself for anything that my energy could bring in to disturb someone else's energy field. And remember that the subconscious can be your friend or your foe. When you have a high rapport with your subconscious mind, you'll stop calling your life fate. I love that because it's true, because then you're actually co-creating with spirit. You're co-creating with God. Let's bring this home. Let's do an awareness audit. I'm going to give you just a little bit of homework because I'm in group coaching mode right now. Write down, or while you're driving, if you're listening to this, think of the top 3 thoughts that you think on repeat. Don't edit them. Just observe them. Just notice. We're just noticing. That's all we're doing. We're not judging or shaming. Just notice that's part of your current programming, and probably a big part. Then I want you to do a turnaround on those 3. Just turn them around. Do a reframe. So like, I always mess up could be something like, I'm learning to trust myself more and more every day. That's accurate. Right? So you're not lying. You're just doing a really beautiful reframe. Instead of assigning mess to yourself, you're saying, I'm working every day to trust myself every day more and more. Love that. So then I like to do things with movement. I also learned one of these at T-Rob is that I would go on a power walk. And one of the ones that he taught us was every day in every way, I get stronger and stronger. And I would walk all over around my house doing that. I just loved it. Just the way my energy would shift just by doing that. And I like to anchor in movement with emotion because it actually gets to anchor in the body temple as a memory so that the subconscious can draw from that as well, right? So then the rewiring of your habitual thinking, that's more about noticing. When you're frustrated or upset, my mind does this, that's when I know I'm super frustrated, is my grunting sound. And then I stop. That's my trigger to myself. I call it my notice trigger. I'm on notice that something is out of alignment for me. Somewhere inside of me, I'm out of alignment. That's my next step, the big deep breath. And I'm like, okay, how did this show up? So what I notice, and when I ask people, what they say is, oh, I just checked my bank balance, or, oh, I just read an email or a text. And then it triggers the subconscious into the upset. So then what you ask yourself is, then you go through the questions just like you would to reflect on, okay, what do I want instead right now? So let's say someone sent you a text that you can't do anything about in the moment. What do I want instead? What would I rather be experiencing? Well, I'd rather be experiencing joy, but now I'm upset. Okay, how do I get myself out of upset? Do you see what I mean? This is about reframing that for you. How do any of us get ourselves out of upset? I've got to take a walk. I've got to maybe call one of my coach friends and talk it through because I have to talk things out to get that out of my body temple in order to process. I do that a lot. Or I'll walk and talk it out, and then I'll write it out. So however you need to process to get it up and out of the body temple and up and out of your energetic field doesn't mean it's going to go away. It just means that you're working it to process it, to release it back into the nothingness from where it came from. It came from nothing, it goes back to nothing. Remember that. So then at the end of the day, so that's for a trigger. That's a lot, I know, but I'm just going to give you the high level stuff. So the people that want to do that, good for you. If I can do it, you will not be sorry. I'll tell you that. So at the end of the day, I like a little retreat, internal retreat, like what served me today. What three things went really, really well today, right? So just asking yourself some questions and reflecting, what went well, and then like what didn't go so well. What could I shift that I really didn't really like today? This isn't the shame spiral. This isn't a shame beat up stick. This is just noticing, reflecting, and then course correcting whatever's necessary. Curiosity. Just be curious. So that is your podcast episode for today. Here's your wrap up. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the thinker. You are the observer. You are the co-creator of your reality. Remember that you are the co-creator. You're creating your reality with your thoughts, with your language patterns, and then your behaviors, because your behaviors come last. Your brain isn't broken. It's just trained and programmed to do things in a way that it's been doing for a long time. And so you get to give it a pattern interrupt. And the pattern interrupt, I'll say this. Since the brain has been trained to be stuck on one loop, it could be trained to be stuck on a fucking loop that you like. So let's do that. Let that be the pattern interrupt. Is as soon as you feel like you're going off the rails again, you're like, whoa, stop. That's not where we're going. That's how simple it is. You listen to a book, listen to a podcast, I don't know, snap a band on your wrist, whatever it takes, you can set yourself free. This is an inside job. It is not external, it is internal. And sometimes, I think that as humans, we need a little bit of support to get us unstuck. And that's what I'm here for. So if you ever want to look into coaching, you can go to my website. You can DM me and see what's available. Right now, it's just one-on-one. I have one spot available, and have some other groups coming up in the near future here. And you can join the wait list for that. That'll be coming up in the next couple weeks. It'll be a short little sprint program, really fun, something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And it came to me in a download, so it's going to be pretty fucking epic. So if you want to do that, we will announce when the wait list shows up, and you can hop on there. So this week, be intentional with your words, be loving, be kind in your energy, be kind to yourself and your thoughts. And, they're not just background noise, your thoughts. They're your life's internal GPS. So if this resonated with you, share it with someone that you think would really get a lot out of it. Rate and review it. And I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Be blessed.